police tried to arrest Joker, but they didn't know he was already waiting for them, not with guns, not with bombs, but with something far more dangerous: the truth. The night the sirens echoed through Gotham's broken streets, the city held its breath. Every officer thought it would be an easy capture: corner the clown, end the chaos. Yet deep inside that abandoned factory, beneath flickering lights and the smell of burnt chemicals, the Joker sat calmly on a wooden chair, smiling as if he had been expecting them for years. When the SWAT team broke in, guns aimed and hearts racing, he didn't run. He didn't even move. He just looked up, tilted his head, and whispered, "Absurd. You're late." What happened next wasn't an arrest. It was a revelation. Because before they could cuff him, the Joker reached into his pocket, dialed a number on a dusty old phone, and said 2 words that froze every man in that room: "Patch me through to the Pentagon." That night, Gotham discovered something terrifying. The Joker wasn't just chaos. He was control. If you think you know who the villain is, think again. Subscribe now, because this story, this truth, is darker, deeper, and more dangerous than you can imagine. The moment Joker said those words, "Patch me through to the Pentagon," the entire room froze. Even the sound of raindrops outside seemed to stop, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The lead officer, a man named Captain Harris, stared at him with disbelief. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he shouted, but the Joker only smiled wider. That smile, the one that made men tremble because it never reached his eyes. "Me?" Joker whispered, leaning back as the old rotary phone crackled with static. "I'm the man you should have listened to before you started pointing your guns." Then, a click. A voice on the other end, deep, professional, and unmistakably American. "This is Pentagon Command. Identify yourself." The officers looked at each other. No one spoke. Joker glanced up at the ceiling, his painted grin gleaming under the pale light. "Tell your boss," he said into the receiver, "that the experiment is over." The line went silent, the kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room, it suffocates it. Captain Harris moved closer, pressing his gun to Joker's temple. "You're bluffing," he hissed. "You've got nothing." Joker's tone changed. The playfulness vanished, replaced by something cold. "Nothing?" He chuckled softly. "Then what's that sound, Captain?" And then the hum began, low, metallic, and growing louder. From somewhere deep beneath the factory floor, a vibration rolled through the concrete, shaking dust from the ceiling. Every officer's radio began to buzz with scrambled interference. Lights flickered, then dimmed to blood-red emergency bulbs. Harris shouted for everyone to move, but before they could, the phone line crackled again. This time, the same voice returned, but sharper, commanding. "All units stand down. Repeat, stand down immediately. That man is under federal protection." The officers froze. The Joker! Under federal protection? The disbelief on their faces was almost comical, and the Joker saw it. He laughed, softly at first, then louder, until it echoed off the walls like a melody of madness and mockery. "See?" he said, tapping the phone with one gloved finger. "You think I'm chaos, but chaos works for someone." Captain Harris refused to lower his gun. "You're lying. The Pentagon doesn't protect criminals." Joker's eyes, those piercing, unblinking eyes, met his. "They do when the criminals build their systems for them." For a moment, even the storm outside seemed to pause. Harris's grip loosened slightly. "What are you talking about?" Joker leaned forward. "Remember that surveillance program you launched last year? The one meant to track people's faces in real time? The one that got mysteriously hacked and leaked worldwide?" Harris's expression changed. He knew exactly what Joker was referring to. "That was me," Joker said almost gently. "I didn't hack it for fun, Captain. I hacked it because your so-called justice system used it to silence whistleblowers, to bury truth, to control fear. You think Gotham's corruption ends with gangsters? Number. It starts in offices with men wearing clean suits and dirty consciences. He stood up slowly, spreading his arms like a preacher before a congregation of lost souls. So I made them a deal. I exposed their secrets and they promised me freedom, but then they broke it. So now... He smiled, lowering his head slightly. Now, I'm returning the favor. The light suddenly cut out completely. Total darkness. Gun clicks echoed. A second later, the backup generator roared to life, and the projection screen on the far wall flickered on. A video began to play. Live feeds of politicians, police chiefs, and businessmen caught in hidden camera footage. Blackmail, bribery, torture. Every dark corner of Gotham's elite laid bare in horrifying clarity. Joker walked toward the screen, his shadow stretching long behind him. Every city runs on secrets, he said softly. Tonight, I burn them all. Harris shouted, "Shut it down, now." But the screen kept playing. One officer pulled the plug. Nothing happened. Another shot the projector. Still nothing. The footage was broadcasting everywhere. News stations, social media, government channels. Within minutes, Gotham was on fire. Not from bombs, but from truth. Joker turned back to the stunned officers, his expression unreadable. "You came here to arrest me," he whispered. "But tonight, you just helped me free this city." Then, a faint ticking sound. Harris looked down. On Joker's chair, a small timer blinked red. 0010, 009, 008. "Bomb! Everyone out!" he shouted. The team scrambled for the exits, but Joker didn't move. He stood still, eyes locked on Harris, smiling one last time. "Don't worry, Captain," he murmured. "It's not what you think." The timer hit 0, and instead of an explosion, a blinding flash erupted from hidden cameras across the room. Not a bomb, a broadcast. Joker's final words echoing across every screen in the city. "Truth doesn't need a mask, but I wear one, so you'll finally see." The factory doors burst open, the rain pouring in, and when the smoke cleared, Joker was gone. Only the phone remained, still connected, still humming. And on the other end, the Pentagon voice said quietly, "He's loose again. Proceed to Phase 2. The morning after the broadcast, Gotham wasn't the same. Streets were quieter, but not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that follows an earthquake. The city's most powerful men had vanished overnight. Some fled the country, others were found dead, though everyone knew the truth. Guilt kills quicker than bullets. And amid the chaos, one question echoed across every news channel, every whisper in the alleys, every trembling conversation in the precinct. Why did the Pentagon protect the Joker? Captain Harris hadn't slept. He sat in the interrogation room, watching the footage from last night on repeat. Joker's voice still haunted him. They do when the criminals build their systems for them. At exactly 6 a.m., his phone buzzed. An unknown number. Against every instinct, he answered. "Harris," a distorted voice said, "this call never happened. You're to report to Raven Facility, classified level." "Who is this?" Harris demanded. "Someone who wants to tell you the truth about your clown." Raven Facility wasn't on any map. It sat deep beneath an abandoned military airstrip outside Gotham, hidden behind a facade of rusted hangars and fake security checkpoints. When Harris arrived, 2 men in black suits escorted him through endless corridors lit by pale fluorescent lights. The deeper they went, the colder it felt. Not temperature, but intent. They stopped at a reinforced steel door marked Project Lazarus. Inside, a woman in a white lab coat stood over a wall of monitors. She turned as Harris entered. "Captain Harris," she greeted. "I'm Dr. Elise Crane. I assume you've met my patient." Harris frowned. "Patient? You mean the Joker?" She didn't answer. Instead, she gestured toward a glass chamber on the far side of the room. Inside was a single chair, and on the walls, hundreds of photographs, all of the Joker. Different ages, different expressions. But one thing stayed the same. Those eyes. The same burning intelligence. The same quiet pain beneath the madness. Dr. Crane walked closer to the glass. Before the makeup, before the chaos, he was known as Subject 17, a military psychologist working for the Department of Behavioral Warfare. Harris froze. "You're saying the Joker worked for you?" She nodded. He was one of the brightest minds we ever had. His job was to study the psychology of fear, how to control it, weaponize it, use it against the human mind. We trained soldiers to resist torture, to overcome trauma. But Subject 17, he saw something we didn't. He said the real weapon wasn't fear itself. It was truth. Harris stepped closer, staring at the pictures. What happened to him? Dr. Crane's expression darkened. He discovered a classified experiment, Operation Mirror, a program that used psychological manipulation and false information to influence public behavior. Elections, markets, wars. All through controlled fear. When he tried to expose it, we discredited him, burned his identity, left him for dead. Harris's pulse quickened. "So you created the Joker," Dr. Crane whispered. "We created what we feared most. A man who stopped serving the system and decided to destroy it instead." Suddenly, the monitors flickered. One by one, each screen displayed a white card with a red smile drawn across it. Then the speakers came alive with a voice Harris knew too well. "Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Captain." It was Joker. Dr. Crane stiffened. "How is this possible?" "He's gone," Joker interrupted, his laughter soft, distant. "You people never learn. You lock me in a room, call it treatment, and then act surprised when the disease spreads." The lights dimmed, the room filled with faint music, a child's lullaby, warped and slowed. On the monitors, images appeared, live camera feeds from the city above. Harris's eyes widened. Every hospital, every courthouse, every police station was being streamed. Joker's voice echoed through the room, chillingly calm. "You took my name, my face, my life. You made me your weapon. Now I'm going to make you remember what you built." Dr. Crane slammed a button on her console. "He's inside the system. Shut it down." Harris turned to her. "What does he want?" Her fingers trembled over the controls. "He's activating Mirror again." The monitors shifted, broadcasting a live feed of Gotham citizens. Fear datagraphs spiked in real time. Pop-ups flashed with fabricated news alerts, terrorist attacks, false bomb threats, citywide panic. Within minutes, Gotham was collapsing under the weight of illusion. Harris shouted into the comms, "Trace him!" "Where is he broadcasting from?" The tech scrambled. "Sir, the signal's coming from here." Inside Raven facility. Dr. Crane's eyes widened in horror. "No, that's impossible." But then they heard it. Faint footsteps echoing down the corridor. The door creaked open, and standing in the doorway, face half covered in cracked white paint, rain dripping from his purple coat, was Joker. He looked at them both with quiet amusement. "You built your monster to control fear," he said softly. "Now watch how fear controls you." Dr. Crane whispered, "You can't win this." Joker tilted his head. "Who said I want to win? I just want to wake you up." He reached into his pocket and placed something on the console. A small flash drive marked Mirror. Final protocol. Then, without warning, the facility alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The monitors glitched again, displaying a countdown, 00:59, 00:58. Harris lunged forward. "What have you done?" Joker smiled faintly, eyes glinting with something almost human. "Finishing what you started." As the alarms wailed, Joker stepped backward into the darkness, his laughter fading into the hum of the sirens. And as the countdown reached 00:30, Dr. Crane looked at Harris and whispered, "If that protocol runs, Every classified secret in the country goes public. The room shook. Sparks burst from the servers. Harris grabbed the flash drive, shouting, "How do we stop it?" Dr. Crane's voice trembled. "We can't." The clock hit 0010. And then the screens went black. For a heartbeat, silence. Then one single message appeared across every monitor in Gotham. You wanted control. Now everyone has it. When the screens went black, the world didn't. It woke up. Within minutes, the internet erupted. Secret files, confidential documents, and encrypted communications were suddenly everywhere. Government corruption, military operations, psychological warfare, all of it exposed. Project Mirror wasn't just a Gotham secret, it was global. In cities across the world, people took to the streets. Some protested, some panicked, and some simply laughed. The kind of laugh you let out when the truth is too heavy to believe. The Pentagon declared a global emergency, labeling the leak as the worst cyber terror attack in history. But those who knew better didn't call it an attack. They called it revelation. And somewhere, hidden behind that storm of chaos, Joker watched. Alone. He sat in an old church on the outskirts of Gotham, candlelight flickering against the broken glass windows. His makeup had almost faded, smeared into the tired face beneath it. His hands trembled slightly as he held a small silver locket. Inside, a photo of a woman smiling. Her name was Evelyn Crane, Dr. Elise Crane's sister. The same woman who years ago had been the first to call him Arthur, before the Pentagon erased that name from existence, before he became an experiment, before his laughter turned from joy into defense. He whispered to the empty church, "I didn't do it for revenge, Evelyn. I did it because no one else would." But deep down, he knew revenge was exactly what it was. Revenge against the system that created monsters out of men and then pretended to be shocked when the monsters bit back. Outside, thunder rolled, and then, slowly, footsteps echoed through the hall. Captain Harris stepped out from the shadows, his gun drawn. "It's over, Joker." Joker didn't flinch. He just smiled faintly. "Over? No, Captain. It's just beginning." Harris hesitated. His voice was quieter now. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Nations are collapsing. Armies are fighting shadows. You've broken the world." Joker turned, his eyes hollow but sharp. "No, Captain. I didn't break it. I just showed it to itself." The wind howled through the shattered windows as lightning split the sky. Harris took a cautious step forward. "The Pentagon wants you alive. They say you still know things they can't afford to lose." Joker laughed softly. "Oh, they're losing much more than secrets tonight." Harris frowned. "What do you mean?" Joker looked up, his face half in shadow. Project Mirror wasn't just about data. It was about control, mass behavioral conditioning through media, fear, and faith. You see, Captain, once the truth spreads, people don't just see corruption. They start questioning everything, their leaders, their laws, even their gods. And when belief dies, he tapped his head. That's when chaos becomes order. Harris clenched his jaw. "You're insane." Joker smiled sadly. "Maybe. But insanity is just morality's mirror, isn't it?" A distant explosion echoed outside. Both men looked toward the stained glass windows as firelight flickered on the horizon. The city was burning, but not from Joker's hand. This time, it was the people. Gotham's citizens were tearing down police stations, storming government buildings, destroying symbols of authority. "You gave them too much," Harris whispered. "They can't handle the truth." Joker's voice was quiet, almost tender. "No one ever can, Captain. That's why the truth wears makeup, so it looks less frightening." He took a slow step toward Harris, unarmed, calm. "Go ahead," he said softly. "Take me in. Let your masters fix this by blaming it all on me. That's what they do best. Build villains to hide their sins. Harris aimed his gun higher. Don't move. Joker stopped, his expression unreadable. Then, with a trembling hand, he reached up and wiped the last streak of white paint from his cheek. Beneath it, his face was scarred, human, painfully human. "You see," he whispered, "I was never the mask. They were." And then a voice crackled through Harris's radio. "Captain, pull out immediately." "He's not alone." Harris frowned. "What do you mean, not alone?" Before he could finish, the church doors creaked open. Men in black tactical gear stepped inside, weapons raised. No insignias, no badges. Private operatives. Pentagon issued. One of them shouted, "Secure the target!" Harris turned, furious. "No! He's under arrest, not execution." But the men didn't listen. They opened fire. In the chaos, Joker dove behind a pew as bullets shredded the altar. Harris returned fire, shouting for them to stop, but it was too late. Smoke filled the air, glass shattered, and through the madness came that haunting laughter, not mocking this time, but sad, broken. When the smoke cleared, the operatives were gone. The church was silent again. Harris coughed through the dust, searching desperately. "Joker!" At the front of the church, where the altar once stood, the candles still flickered. On the stone steps lay Joker's purple coat, but no sign of him. Only the silver locket remained, its clasp open, the photograph burned away. Then Harris's radio crackled again, faint and distorted. "Phase 3 complete. Mirror rebooted. Prepare for broadcast." Harris froze. "Broadcast? From where?" There was no answer, only static. And then, from every screen, every phone, every billboard in Gotham, a single image appeared. Joker's face, smiling. But this time, his voice wasn't chaotic. It was calm, measured, human. "You can't silence truth by killing the messenger. I'm not your enemy. I'm your reflection. The mask is gone now. So tell me, Gotham, do you like what you see?" The transmission cut, and somewhere in the depths of the city, a faint laugh echoed through the rain. Not loud, not cruel, just enough to remind the world that chaos never dies. It only waits. And that was the night Gotham realized the Joker was never just a villain. He was a mirror held up to a world built on lies. If that story made you question who the real monster is, hit subscribe and join us for more dark cinematic tales where truth bleeds through chaos. Because in this world, the laugh always comes after the truth.